Hi, I'm Danny, and these are my Diecast Disasters. Here I have a little Chevy Stepside, and I believe this is either a Soma or a Road Champs brand model. Either way, I think they both appear to be using old Yatming molds. Taking a closer look at it off of the turntable, so it's seen a bit of action. It's pretty worn out all over. You can see the rear bumper there is broken off, the sides of it pretty scruffy underneath. Someone's scratched an N in it, and you see those rear wheels, axles up over the suspension spring there. So looking online, I found black Soma versions of this model, but looking at the shape of those old decals, they look more like the Bandit decals that were on the Road Champs ones. However, I couldn't find an example of a black Road Champs Bandit Stepside. Road Champs were based in Pennsylvania, whereas Soma, I believe, were in Hong Kong. And this further pushes me towards the conclusion that it could be a Soma, because I would imagine that Hong Kong would be more likely to be exporting little cheap toy cars over to New Zealand, where I am, than maybe some company in Pennsylvania, USA, who've got their own internal market there. Anyway, these are the sort of mysteries that could plague a man at night, so we'll just crack on with restoring this little pickup. I've drilled out the posts there, and I'll pop off the base. Right, so there's the base there, looking a jolly grubby mess. Actually cracked at the back there, but you can't really notice it. I'll take out this front axle. So there's the other loose axle and wheels, and the windscreen. It's blue. It's not the worst colour it could be, but I think I'll end up replacing it anyway. Next, I'll use some paint stripper to strip the paint off of the casting. Here it is after paint stripping. I'll give it a further clean up with a wire brush and my Dremel. And so here's our casting after the treatment, and it's looking nice and clean. There are some rough patches on it though. The rear here, there's some sort of rough casting lines. And on the roof, you can see that side's good, but the side has, I don't know if it's a casting line or it actually looks like it might have been banged with something. Anyway, it's a sort of a flap sticking over, so I'll remove that with the needle files and some sandpaper. The same on the rear. I'll use a bigger file to make sure it's nice and flat. So there we go, there's those bad bits tidied up. I also notice a little bit of flashing in around the windows, so I'll give that a little bit of a clean up as well with the needle file. Here is the base again. Very grubby, and it's got a little bit of the chrome left on it, so I'm going to use some hot water and caustic soda to clean it. So you can see all the grub coming off of there, and it'll remove any remaining chrome. Here it is after a clean. You can see the broken bumpers, the sides broken off them, so I'm going to have to fix those. I can do this by gluing some strips of thin styrene underneath there, just as a support mainly. And next I'll mix up some epoxy putty. There we go, making sure it's well mixed up. And now I've got my little blob of putty. I can build up the broken off sides of the bumpers with it, using that thin strip there just as a support. And they don't have to be too accurate, just as long as you've got more than enough material rather than less. There we go, I'll leave those to cure till they're nice and hard. And now they're cured, but they're probably just going to break off when I work them, so they're not stuck on there very well. So I've got some thin super glue here, and I'm just going to sort of saturate them with the thin super glue, getting it in around where they're joined on to the plastic. And I'll let that all cure, and it'll give me a nice strong material to work away at. And here it is. I've left it about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour I suppose. It's all nice and fully dried, and I'll just work away at it with some files basically to file them into shape. And this was how it looked after I'd finished. Hopefully my camera will go and focus there. And here I've hit the grill just with some black primer just to expose any of the detail that I might have filled up with glue or putty, but it actually looked pretty good. Here is a brush bar that I've 3D printed. So I've taken that off of the supports and cleaned it up very carefully. And I'll glue it on the front there. And as the detailing in the front was a little bit beaten up looking, this sort of hides that a little bit. Detracts the eye from it. Here is a roll bar that I have printed out. I had to design that myself because I couldn't find a suitable one. It's got some spotlights on the top there. I've trimmed this off of the supports very carefully because it was quite delicate. And there I've glued it in the back. Just use some super glue to do that. Here is an interior I've printed for it. I found this on Thingiverse. I had to just edit the steering wheel a little bit to make it a bit thicker. So I've cleaned that up there. And I'll glue those two pieces together. And there we go, there's my interior. And this will fit very snugly in the body of the truck. But I'm not going to push it in there yet because it's quite a snug fit and I don't want to break it taking it out again. And so here's our main parts all ready for some paint. I'll start out with some black primer on the pickup body. I'm going to make this Stepside a nice candy orange, so the next layer was silver. And a few layers of the candy orange over that. I detailed the door handles and the roll bar in silver. And then I finished that with a couple of coats of nice gloss varnish. Here's the interior. I gave that the same black primer and then silver treatment and the candy orange, mainly focusing on the floor there. And then made the details black. Here are the wheels I'm going to use for it. They would be fine, but if you can see there, 3 of them are nice shiny chrome looking and one of them's dull. So I'm going to have to pop the tyres off and give them all a fresh coat of silver so that they all look the same. Right, so there they are after the fresh coat of silver and the tyres back on them. They're good to go. And here's that blue window, that massive big post it's got on it. Anyway, I'm not going to be using that. Blue's not the worst colour, but I'd rather that they were clear. So I'm using a little bit of masking tape here. I'll just put it over that front window. Then I can use a pencil to mark out the shape of it. That'll give me a blank to cut out a new windscreen. Okay, there's the shape of the window. And next I'll stick this onto a piece of clear plastic. This is just from some packaging. Then I can cut that out. It's good to get some fine sandpaper and sand those sharp edges. And then I used some crystal clear to glue the windscreen in, and I've glued in a front windscreen and a rear. Now I can push that nice tight fitting interior in there. Here is the chassis, which I've painted black and then silver. And I put the wheels in it and a button head screw to hold it all together. And that's about that. Just before we take a look at the finished pickup, we'll take a quick look back at what we started with. Here it is, our little Soma or Road Champs or whatever it is. Looking a right mess. Worn out all over from plenty of playtime. It's all still there though. So let's see how it looks after a candy makeover. And here it is, our finished little Chevy Stepside. Given a jolly good clean up and repainted in a nice candy orange. It's got a brush guard on the front there and a roll bar. Some new spotlights up top. It's now got a interior that it never had before. And of course, to finish it off, those nice new wheels. I think it's looking heaps better. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Did you used to have one of these little models when you were a kid? I don't think they would have been the rarest little Stepside toy around. Just before I go, I'll say thanks heaps to my patrons. Thanks heaps to you for watching this video. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you're not subscribed, maybe subscribe so you can see more similar stuff. Give it a like, comment and all that stuff. And I'll catch you in the next one.